I wanted to say, just for me, like in my perspective on everything, to me, happiness is the ability to be grateful for what you have, and with what you have in the present moment. Because, like Royal said, if it's always based on what you have, you're going to always be upping the expectation of what it's going to take to make you happy next. And it's like until we can learn to be content or fulfilled with what's in front of us. And I think that's something that has to be learned, or else you always, maybe it's human nature to always just learn to up the ante of what it takes to be happy the next day and the next day instead of, you know what, I actually am happy because I have everything I need. What's not to be happy about?
Yeah, and what people can't really stomach is the whole fact that happiness is a choice. You choose to be happy because happiness is perspective, right? I remember like I talked to so many people, um and what I tried to figure out was what they chase. And a lot of people chase money cuz they think money is the thing that's going to make them happy, and if not happy, comfortable. It's funny, like a lot of my friends, a lot of the people I even know, majority of their time goes to money and chasing money and getting money. And it's funny because it's like, yes, I understand we all need to make money in order to even pay bills and, to keep some for a rainy day fund. But now a lot of my friends are way over that line, and they haven't even stopped to like take a look around and be like, hey, all I'm doing is chasing money. And then those people later, when I see them get in their 30s or in 40s, they are upset because money let them down. Like they chase so hard for money, thinking that money's going to get them happiness, and then money let them down. And the wise lesson that to be learned there from the get go is money can only go so far. And I wish in school they would actually teach us how far money goes. You know what I mean? Like, money can't fix every health problem, money can't fix every mental illness problem. Like, money can only go so far. It's just the best tool we have. But a lot of people think that money is going to fix their problems or get them to happiness. Like it's a vehicle to get there, only to be let down when they try to use that money as a vehicle. I've seen it so common. There's
The money is.
actually, go
Oh,
ahead.
go ahead. Sorry, man.
Okay, I'll say this real quick and then you got the floor, right?
Go ahead.
But there's actually like they did a psychology study of how much one makes a year and then the measurement of happiness with how much one makes a year. And to their findings, like when you make 20,000 to 40,000, and how much your happiness factor changes. 40,000 to 80,000, 80,000 to 150,000, all that. Like, and they what they found out was after a certain amount of money, and I believe it's around 150,000 a year. After a certain amount of money, the level of happiness that you go is very incremental. Like imagine, okay, so you go from 20,000 to 30,000, and then your happiness goes from like 20 to 40%. You know, 40,000 to 80,000, and then it goes from like 40 to 75%, and then 80 to 150,000, 75 to 87%, and then everything higher than that, like $1 million a year, $2 million a year, $10 million a year. It's very incremental when it comes to happiness measurement. Very, very small increments, like 89% to 89.5%, 89.5% to 90%, 90% to 90.5%. Like it gets smaller, marginal, and marginal. After a certain amount of money, around 150,000 a year. Go ahead, Raul.
Oh, I was just going to say that. I mean, I think money is just it's a substitute for really understanding if you're happy or not, because it's quantifiable. Like a lot of businesses today, the numbers, and then they're trying to do a service, and it's just like, well, the numbers are a great way to try to quantify what you're doing, but the service itself is not quantifiable. You know what I mean? Like that's just something, and a lot of people believe the more money I throw at this, the more money I make, the easier my life is going to be. When in reality, if you take a look at people who won the lottery, what are the problems that, like, how many success stories do we hear, long-term success stories do we hear about people winning the lottery? How many, and put that against how many suicides, how many bankruptcies, how many, domestic issues, how many prison terms, how many things, that money that came into their hands by most people's metrics should have made their lives easier, made them harder, because the money can get them into a better scenario, can get them into a better situation. But most of the time, the money, it's the amount you make. Honestly, it can only, in most cases, human nature-wise, it's just, can only exacerbate problems that are already there. And we cling to, I think one of the first conversations you and I had is you asked me point blank, how much did I need to make per year to be happy? And I think my answer at that time was, I think, 45,000. And you were like, what? What are you talking about, man? And I was just like, dude, like, that gives me enough to pays for my rent, pays for my car note. I have money to take care of my folks. I have enough money to go and do the little things that I do. I have enough money to buy the food and eat the food that I want. That's the number. That's the number that I need to make.
Yeah.
And I was happy. Now, fast forward, and I start to make a little bit more than that. I mean, that didn't make any of my problems any easier. But it did get me to go ahead and pay for more therapy, pay for more counseling, pay for other things that have helped me along the way, because I use the money properly. That's when money can actually help you. But a lot of the time, there's a racing term called, there's no replacement for displacement, meaning the bigger the engine, the more more horsepower you can put out, the more torque you can put out. It doesn't work like that for people. And I think, there's definitely no replacement for having a lot of money, but that doesn't mean that's going to win you the race. And I think that's one of the fallacies we fall into, is we think, if I just make 140, all my problems will go away, and then so on and so forth. And you know what? There's nothing new under the sun, like we said a couple of podcasts ago. There isn't anything new under the sun. That's the best laid plans of mice and men right there. You're falling into that same trap. How are you going to use the money, and how are you going to use the money to help you become a better person, to continue to actually be happy? That's the thing. That's the big, I think that's the big secret right there. But sometimes it's just easier to chase a number, because the number is easily quantifiable.
Yeah.